heard at the end of each agency's presentation, and the time will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. We don't have anybody from the public yet. We have a sign-in sheet. If you could make sure to sign in, and we'll go around and do a round of introductions, and then if you could walk us through, that'd be great. So I'm Laura Bryan, City Planning Commission.
Haley Webb, City Planning Commission. Cameron Blassier, City Planning Commission.
Colin Holman, Capital Budget.
Larry Garbino Jr., CEO of North Commission.
Miguel Viteri, Legal Projects.
Jerry Harris, Director of Capital Projects.
Edgar Alexis, Chief Operating Officer, NORD.
Again, of Capital Projects.
Great. Okay.
All right, well, good morning. Again, Larry Garbino, CEO of North Commission. I'm here to present NORD's 2027 to 2031 capital budget summary and request. And I want to start by saying about 2 years ago, NORD and the Park Partners did the Big Green Easy Master Plan study. Well, we had a study done on the master plan done for Parks and Recreation citywide, and our capital budget request is in line with what came out of the Big Green Easy Master Plan that was done citywide. And with it, the top of our list is our citywide funding restoration for reallocated priorities through capital projects at $2,315,000. These were funds that NORD had, and with these funds, we had to move some of these funds over to other capital projects that had a shortage during COVID, during COVID with projects where we saw the escalation of costs and projects, or we had funding that was removed from our projects to go to other projects. We were asking to have that funding restored. This funding is normally and typically used throughout to do repairs of NORD's parks, playgrounds, at our facilities, whether it's HVAC repairs, fencing repairs, high match lighting repairs. And this funding normally is, because it's not, this funding is normally not in NORD's operational budget. It's used for us to maintain NORD's facilities throughout the year. When we have major infrastructure repairs, such as the HVAC system go down during the summer months, while we have summer camps operating in pools, and we need to do major repairs at facilities, and that's why we're requesting this funding back. Also, we were requesting funding to replace the turf at Morris FX Jeff football field. The artificial turf have a life expectancy of 8 to 10 years, and that's when you're properly maintaining it. The turf at Morris FX Jeff football stadium is now sitting at about year 12. You know, it has exceeded its life expectancy, and we're in dire need of replacing it. And that was at we're requesting $1,725,000. And number 3 on our list is seasonal pool repairs. As you know, NORD has been in existence since 1947. And we have some pools that date back from the 50s to current that some were renovated after Hurricane Katrina. But again, some of our pools are old and antiquated, and NORD manages and operates a total of 18 swimming pools, 5 indoor swimming pools, 13 seasonal swimming pools, compared to our surrounding parishes, where Jefferson Parish only has 1. Which sits at in Marrero at Johnny Jacobs Playground, and we have playground that's on dire needs for renovations and repairs to make sure that we're able to open and operate them. And so we're looking for funding to be able to maintain these swimming pools, and it's we're requesting $5,750,000 for those playgrounds. Also, our number 4 is Digby Playground Clubhouse. We're looking to not renovate this old antiquated clubhouse, but to demolish and replace it. It's an old antiquated clubhouse that we have repaired multiple times, and now we're just looking to replace it almost like kind, and we're looking to replace it at the tune of about $2,300,000. Also, based upon the Big Green Easy Master Plan, we're not looking to build any more seasonal swimming pools, but we're looking to start building and putting in community splash pads. Splash pads are less costly, more easily cost-effective on maintaining, and it's less costly to manage. And we're looking to put a splash pad at Digby Playground, and that's in New Orleans East, around $980,000. And that cost is based around what we have already, what we've already built. We have two now that's in construction, and that's around the average cost. Also, Lions Center cooling tower replacement on the HVAC repairs. We've been constantly repairing this HVAC cooling tower, but now it's time to fully replace it. We've been repairing it for about 2 years, and we're trying to get the funding to fully just replace it, and that's at the tune of $375,000. Next, we have our citywide security measures for buildings, pools, properties, for cameras, roll down shutters, at the tune of $2,553,000. Nord, it's unfortunate, but we suffer a lot of vandalism and theft at our properties. And also we work with Ross and with the CCTV cameras, because we have a lot of illegal activities that happen at different parks and playgrounds throughout the communities. And so the goal is to try to have the security cameras there to prevent the vandalism, to prevent the theft, but also to be able to assist NOPD as well with activities that take place, illegal activities that take place in different communities where we have parks and playgrounds and facilities. Also, we have another splash pad request at Punch Train Park, a splash pad. That's another community that do not have a swimming pool. That's a large homeowners community, same as Digby community. It does not have a swimming pool, and the distance of a swimming pool in that community is more than a mile away from that community, and we would love to put a splash pad at the tune of $975,000. We also have the Pecan Grove Community Center. The Pecan Grove Community Center is a facility that Nord have been operating through a CEA with the Housing Authority of New Orleans for at least close to 15 to 20 years. And we have a CEA with the Housing Authority to not only continue to operate this facility, but to expand on some additional land. And we're possibly looking to do a land swap to own both lands. Pecan Grove sits in New Orleans East. Nord only operate one rec center in New Orleans East, which is Joe Brown. The New Orleans East community has been requesting that Nord provided another multi-purpose facility in New Orleans East, and based upon the Big Green Easy Master Plan, it determined that New Orleans East do need another multi-purpose facility, and this is a facility that already exists, and it would allow us to renovate this facility and to bring programming to New Orleans East, but a different part of New Orleans East. This brings us closer to this is on Chef-Menteur Highway, closer to Downland, so further towards the Industrial Canal side of New Orleans East, at the tune of $6,950,000. Also, Nord have in its capital budget request, requesting the funding to build a multi-purpose recreational facility in Punch Train Park. Again, there's no multi-purpose recreational center within a mile or more in that community, and again, based upon the Big Green Easy Master Plan, that community is without recreational amenities such as a multi-purpose recreational center, such as whether swimming pool, or splash pads, and this is something that we are recommending and requesting funding for at the tune of $13,363,000. Next, we have our citywide turf field install, repair, and maintenance. Nord, as of today, have 5 baseball stadiums that have 4 have turf infields. 1 is fully turfed, and we have 3 football fields that are fully turfed. We have 2 that needs to be returfed. We have Burrell Playground. That turf has exceeded its life expectancy. It's been there over 10 years and it's in need of being replaced. But also just to be able to properly maintain, to do repairs, upkeep on the turf. And so we're requesting funding to be able to maintain the turf and replace those once they're outdated, such as Burrell, such as Morris FX Jeffs. And we're requesting $4,140,000 to continue to maintain those that already exist. Also, we have the request for Skelly Rupp outfield turf installation. Skelly Rupp Baseball Stadium, about 2 years ago, we fully renovated this facility, and we did the infield turf at this baseball stadium and not the outfield turf. This facility is utilized by Xavier University as well as the high schools and as well as NORD. And we're looking to turf the outfield at this facility. And also we're looking also, I'm gonna go back to the citywide turf. We're looking to replace the outfield turf at Wesley Barrow Baseball Stadium. We replaced the infield turf there, and we're also looking to replace the outfield turf there because the outfield turf has exceeded its life expectancy. But we're looking to install outfield turf at the Skelly Rupp Baseball Stadium, and that's at $1,725,000. And we have Joe Bartholomew Tennis Court new clubhouse. So we have 10 tennis courts at Joe Bartholomew Tennis Facility, and in the 2025 bond sales, it was passed, we're gonna be renovating those 10 tennis courts. However, there's no tennis facility that's out there with those 10 tennis courts. There's no water source, there's just 10 tennis courts that's standing alone out in Pontchartrain Park. And we're looking to build a clubhouse to go along so we can properly manage those tennis courts. And then of course, it will be a revenue generating source where that we can have a pro shop, concessions, restrooms, locker rooms, and then it could be, of course, a revenue generating source for NORD as well as the city of New Orleans to be able to properly manage those tennis courts. And that's at $2,916,250. And we have the Norman Playground enhancements. This is one that we have been requesting for years at $4,715,000. We're looking to enhance Norman Playground with Sits and Algiers. We're looking to renovate, it's a huge complex. We're looking to renovate, it's a multi-purpose complex where we're doing soccer fields, baseball fields, walking trails, the basketball court, the play structures. We're looking to fully renovate this facility where we can have multiple activities, multiple sports going on and servicing the whole family, whether they're on the walking trails, they're playing soccer, they're playing basketball, or playing Little League, or even on the tide lots play structures. We're looking to fully renovate and enhance on Norman Playground at $4,715,000. Next, we have St. Bernard Rec Center pool enclosure. So instead of building any additional outdoor seasonal pools, basically what NORD has done is today we have 5 year-round swimming pools. Our goal is to continue to teach water safety instructions, and one of the biggest programmings that we offer is our water aerobics swim lessons, water aerobics for our seniors as well as swim lessons for kids and families. And so it happens more or less in our indoor swimming facilities year-round. And we look to strategically make sure that we're placing them throughout the city. NORD manages and operates close to a little over 160 facilities and assets citywide. So we have an indoor facility in New Orleans East. We have an indoor facility in Treme area. We have one in Gertown. We have one uptown in the Gertown area. We have one in Treme. We have one in Algiers. but we do not have one in the Gentilly area. This will allow us to serve the Gentilly community by putting one in the Gentilly community, and it's associated with a rec center, so it's not a standalone. And we also have one in the Lower Ninth Ward. This will allow us to serve the Lower Ninth Ward, New Orleans East, Gentilly, the Treme community, Uptown, as well as Algiers. And it will allow us to holistically provide year-round water safety instructions, as well as some service our seniors with water aerobics, swim lessons throughout the entire city year-round. And that's at $6,050,000. Also, we have the Morris FX Jeff Complex Bike Park. And so we're looking to do the expansion of the Morris FX Jeff by tying in from General de Gaulle all the way to General Meyer. That would tie in from our Skelly Rock Baseball Stadium. It's the wooded area where we once had the Eagles. Where we have the bike trail that would go through the wooded area all the way through to the bridge that go all the way through by the Morris FX Jeff Stadium, the natatorium, the tennis courts, the rec center, the baseball fields. It would allow us to tie that whole complex in together, which would be similar to having access at Joe Brown. And the goal would be to have biking, hiking, and everything through those trails. And this is what this would give us by connecting that entire campus at $4,508,250. And we also have the Morris FX Jeff Complex Master Plan Infrastructure Feasibility and Facility Improvements, and that ties into the bike park complex. It all ties in together, and that's at $3,795,000. And we have the Joe Brown Park Stormwater Management program, and that's to, of course, the program is to see how we can manage stormwater out of New Orleans East and how we can utilize Joe Brown to manage stormwater throughout that community with the 64 acres that we have out at Joe Brown Park. And that's at $4,228,000. And all of these projects that we look at funding all coincide with the community meetings that we had. We had a total of 8 different community meetings as we went through with the planning for the Big Green Easy Master Plan. And that is my presentation.
I think you skipped over Kingswood Park. Can you just go through that one?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did.
7.
I did, yes. Kingswood Park sits in New Orleans East, yes. Kingswood Park is a park that we're looking to renovate. We're looking to redo the basketball court, add more walking lights, resurface the play structure, and to just fully renovate this playground and bring it back up to what it was, yes. And that's at the tune of $1,035,000 to bring this playground back up to the standards that it needs to be. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I also have a few questions.
Yes.
For the #2 Morris FX Stadium football field turf, there was recently a press release on this that that there's a campaign to raise money. Like Inspire NOLA was going to provide $500,000 in private funding. So is this the gap funding to get?
Well, so our request went in well before that campaign
Okay,
started.
all right,
Yes.
just wanted to
Yes.
check. Okay,
Our-
so then would it is the intent that this Friends of Inspire NOLA is going to be able to fund the entire thing?
So it's a fundraiser. They're looking to fund whatever the shortfall is on the campaign.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. For the seasonal pool repairs, are those poles already identified as far as which ones?
Yes.
Are they currently closed or?
So right now, we have two that are closed. One is Harrell Pool. The other one is Taylor Pool. The other pools, we know, for example, we know Stallings Gentili, we need to repair it leaks, but we can't close it because of the demand. So we do as much duct tape and bubble gum repairs that we can to make sure it operates. We know that Lion Center Pool, we do as much repairs as we can to get it operate. But we know that one needs to be fully renovated. We know Stallings Gentili needs to be fully renovated. We know, like I say, it's Taylor, Harrell, Lion Center Pool, Stallings Gentili Pool. What other pool? We know right now, we just signed the contract as we speak to do some renovations for A.L. Davis. We do have that one going. That's 5 right now that we have going. Also, we just, we have the work going now for Sampson Pool. That one's going. And so, yeah, those are 5 pools, and we just did some repairs at St. Bernard Center Pool.
Yep.
Did some deck repairs
Good
for St. Bernard
repairs.
Center Pool. And we will have to close down, Gertown Pool, because we're going to have to plaster the tub. We're gonna have to replaster the tub at Gertown Pool. Yeah, and so, yes, those are repairs that we know we're gonna have to.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And with those, yeah, we
Filtration
definitely,
systems need to be changed out.
yes, also change out the filtration systems at all of those pools.
I had a question about Skelly Rupp. So you were talking about this a little bit, but Skelly Rupp ultimately did get funded last year, is that right? For another big project? I feel like I remember there being a line item for Skelly Rupp.
Not last year. So a few years ago, Skelly Rupp was funded and we did a full renovations of
Okay.
Skelly Rupp. However, we fell short funding wise. That's why we only did the infield. The goal was to do the entire field.
Okay.
So
okay.
based upon the
That's what it
bids
is.
that came in, we did an alternate and we weren't able to do the outfield, so we only did the infield.
Okay.
Was that Super Bowl turf?
Oh, no.
No.
No, that was all done with, was that bond funds? How did we do Skelly Rupp? All bond
Yeah,
funds?
that's
Yeah, that was all bond funds.
Just a general comment about Skelly Rupp in items 17 and 18, which is Morris FX, the bike park, and also the master planning.
Uh-huh.
And item number 2, which is the football turf. So these are 4 different projects, but it's basically the same general facility.
Yes.
The master planning is really important because the infrastructure is so poorly made, it's just, past its life expectancy. And there's a lot of opportunity to upgrade parts of the park that seem like they're really underutilized because they're in disrepair. And also, when you do a master planning, you kind of figure out how all the facilities that have been in development for so many years can have a little bit better synergy. And the bike park actually connects Skelly Rupp through the Magellan Canal back to the remainder of the park. So you're creating this regional park that makes a lot of sense because you're looking at the big picture of how everything could fit.
Okay.
So those 4 projects, if they could somehow advance in tandem, it makes logical sense because you're planning in a way where you're able to phase projects. The master planning component, even a little bit of money that gets approved, can actually advance the pre-feasibility studies that actually impacts all the different facilities to start making sense of the whole. So that's really important to always understand that we are trying to have a big picture analysis of how these things fit together and just kind of improve how they are run more efficiently.
That's really helpful, thank you for explaining that, just for more context for us.
Can we talk a little bit more about the citywide funding restoration, the number 1,
Sure.
capital projects? You said that if the funds were available but had to be moved for other capital priorities.
Sure.
This $2 million, I think you said HVAC, fencing, maintenance repairs, is there Is that specifically what it's for? Is that for the entire portfolio?
Yes.
So,
So what took place was, technically it was a total, we had a total of $3.4 million. And, that $3.4 million was for NORD to fix HVAC repairs, fencing repairs, high mass lighting repairs. We could even done, turf repairs, safety surface repairs. And so as we were moving along doing that, and COVID hit, we had projects. And with some of our projects, it was a shortfall on budget because we were seeing escalation in prices. So with that, it was, hey, your project is gonna stall because we're falling short on funding. Okay, well, we'll provide some funding through this to help make sure that that project move forward. So we did that. It's like, okay, well, when we sell these bonds, we'll be able to help replace those fundings, right? And so that's why this number comes back to the table saying, okay, well, when we sell these bonds, we'll look to get you your funding back. We're borrowing money from you guys and we're helping get you your funding back. And that's why this number comes. Even when it came to, okay, well, we have to pull money holistically from every department to quote unquote fund the building of the ward, the section of the jail, quote unquote. And so this what that number was.
do you already have, oh, go ahead.
No, we were just asking, can we get back what you guys
Yeah.
borrowed?
Yeah. Do you already have the priority list for what would need those repairs immediately?
That list never stops.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So and like I said, we manage and operate a little over 160 facilities and assets, right?
Right.
So we have 14 multi-purpose facilities where the air conditioning, the HVAC runs 24/7, 365 days. The 5 indoor swimming pools, the pool heater runs 365 days a week, 24/7, you know, I mean, and so we just replace heaters on pools. We're begging the current administration, our budget operates per quarter, right? Well, I need to get in my third quarter budget now, portion of it now, because we've exhausted second quarter. Traditionally, NORD utilizes majority of its budget second and third quarter because we have summer camps. We have to make sure that, and when we're outdoors, it's baseball season, to make sure the lights are working. We have to make sure the outdoor facilities are working. We have to make sure all of the air conditioning's working, the pools are working. And so I wouldn't be leaning heavy on my operational budget with fixing everything if I had the bond funds to make sure that my pools were working, my air conditioners were working. And so we've tapped out our operational expenses because I don't have access to the normal bond funds.
Yeah, and so essentially I was just alluding to tomorrow work would start happening, y'all already have those priorities, y'all already know what you would do the second you
Yes.
have the funding, yeah.
Yes. I would listen. I would spend $64,000 right now to fix the pool heater at Joe Brown.
Yep.
What did you ask me for money earlier?
Circulating pump, circulation pump.
Circulation pump
Joe
for
Brown,
the
rec
hot
center.
water heater at Joe Brown at the rec center, so we could pass the health inspection, so we can make sure we serve food for the
Yeah.
summer camp. I mean, I can, I can, right, it's, yes,
Understood.
yes,
I
yes.
had a question about Joe Brown. You were talking about a stormwater management, program there
Yes.
to help offset, I guess, flooding in the neighborhood or in
Right.
the area. That seems like a really neat project. So did it come from like the big green
That-
easy, or is it a separate project?
So
I'm
that-
just curious to hear any background on
So
that.
that's something that I inherited.
Okay.
So that is something that, has been in NORD's, capital budget summaries that I've inherited,
Okay,
and so, yes.
so it's still there. So
It's
maybe
still-
it came from like the urban water plan or
It-
something like that?
Okay, this is something that I inherited,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Everything else is from me. I
Okay.
inherited that.
And that's where we see opportunities though, of where there is federal grants
Right.
available to do
Yeah.
stormwater management. And then in the process of either doing like underground storage tanks or
Yeah.
lagoons, then you can do amenities at the same time. So it's not only, like nature improvements, but also you can get play structures or a new, field on top of it. So we're able to leverage that funding to do more for the community as
Or
well.
the
And-
64 million.
Right,
for
and
the
so we're
lawn.
heavily involved in that, so we have about 10 to, at least about 14 of our playgrounds that we're doing it at. For example, we're doing the Willie Hall Playground, so that they're doing the stormwater management project, but when they're done, we're receiving the football field, the baseball field, the running track, the concessions, the restroom, we're building the kayak launch on Bayou St. John. All that's coming with the federal side funding with that. We're doing the same thing with different amenities at other parks and playgrounds. So yes, I appreciate those projects when they come, but this one I inherited when, you know, that has always been there, and I was always told, don't remove that one.
Okay, the other thing is you have a lot, there are fewer projects on this list than there were from last year, it's quite a few fewer. And so the projects, I guess were funded under the bond initiative. 12 of
We
them.
had 12 of our projects funded under the bond initiative.
Okay,
Yes,
that's great,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, and there's a couple included in this first bond sale, so
Yes.
we'll start seeing, many of them are already shovel ready, so as soon as we get the, bonds in and the list confirmed, then they can go out to bid for construction almost immediately, so.
Yeah, I think we got 4.
4, yeah, it's 4.
Okay, that's great. Okay. I don't have any more questions. Anything else, Jerry, you have anything? Thank you guys so much for being here
Thank
and
you.
walking us through this.
If we can push number 1 through, I will be so grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the pools are all open?
Yeah, well, so we're doing a soft opening on the 30th, Saturday.
Okay.
And all the pools, not all the pools, because again, Corral, we're trying to figure the tub out. Taylor Pool's not opening because of the vandalism, and also there's a stormwater management project at Taylor Playground, so we're not opening Taylor, but that will need extensive repairs. And the contractor is starting now at A.L. Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only 3 out of 18. We're gonna have 15 swimming pools open.
Amazing. And y'all have all the lifeguards? I remember there was a big lifeguard.
They're still coming in, as of now, we have 94 that's going through the hiring process. 94, and we have on staff 38. So that'll give us a total of 100 and some odd lifeguards.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a busy summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys so
We're
much.
excited, we're excited. Summer camps are full. I have to turn my phone off because everyone is like, I need my kid. My grandkid in camp was like, where were you in March? when we
Missed it.
started?"
Thank you for what y'all do.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, I will see if Audubon is out there.
Oh.
I'm not gonna.
So the next one actually was early. Never late for always on time.
Just to check, like, how much money is on.
You don't know.
Because we had another.
I just present
50 that's supposed to be
a beautiful
sold.
I promise. No, that's what you call it.
This was like days ago, and she's like
Ask me that
super
question,
cute
that's
and
what I'm doing.
comfortable.
I think in the bond,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna put it in the bond.
Maybe you could just
Right.
sign
So
it.
random,
That's
but yes,
all.
they're cute.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking the question. We met with Jason Hughes.
The matching
We
color.
had the 450 that we already renewed. Right, so I'm trying to figure out. So we technically had 450 from Howard Thomas.
Okay.
I was trying to see if there was another 450 we get some.
Conference
I'll have to look. They might have been used what-
It's good as a target.
Need to find a letter.
Yeah, I went from the council.
So the
That was
process-
talking
It
about
is,
the
but-
project, but Jason was there.
Sorry.
They want us to move on to something
I
already.
guess
That would be the same thing with, that would be the same thing with,
I got several of my hats. and-
Kerry Curley basketball court, because it's showing
I don't
the same thing.
I recognize that.
You're here for it?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, just shoot me a text or anything.
That's all right.
Just make it more specific, don't you know?
No, it's called job security.
Yeah, that's right. I could go for you that.
How's it going? Good. Good. Oh, yeah.
That's a great pin. I sent that email just so that they would have the agencies, but I saw that like going back and forth about it. So
Good to see you, Laura.
there's the two, what there's two. Scottish wait.
You've been at this, so do we need to listen to it?
What? Right, so it's like, now we figure out when are we gonna open up for submissions and like, what's the cutoff? I think that's a shock, so.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Series.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right, thanks. Again, girl, what's up? Put your Superman cape up today. Hi, Larry. I mean, a pleasure. Pleasure, pleasure. Yeah, everything's good.
You're right across the street. Not too bad. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, that mentality is. Over here, I might be the one to stop living because of the threat that the kids and nobody wants to say the hard that they can about what it's for us to address it.
Well, we are going to put this, online, we're just recording all of our hearings, we're not doing them live, but we will post it by the end of next week, so you will be able to watch or send it to anybody who may want to watch. But we'll do a round of introductions, and then if you guys could just get started, that'd be great, and I'll pull up your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. Can I get to the top of your screen? And it should go full screen. Okay.
That's the happy story slide.
Beautiful park.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm Laura Bryan, City Planning Commission.
Haley Webb, City Planning Commission. Cameron Glassy, City Planning.
Kyle Holman, capital budget.
Janine Rexelroy, Audubon Nature Institute.
Lori Conklin, Audubon Nature Institute.
Jackson Kirby, Audubon Nature Institute.
Jerry Harris, Director, Capital Projects.
Again, the project manager, capital projects.
Alright, so I'll just jump right in. We had a really great year to share with y'all with capital budget, so thanks to the city of New Orleans' funding, we were able to open the Governor Nichols Riverfront Park, obviously in April. It has been transformational for the city. We, not only have we created this connected path of over 2 miles for commuters and visitors and dog walkers and kids, it also flexed to host arguably one of the best French Quarter Fest ever. And then recovered really nicely and is back to being a really nice community asset. So we're super excited about the new park. We were out there last night programming the lights on the Coast Guard Tower. There's all sorts of fun stuff going on out there. Next slide. So that was just kind of the reason how these are just a couple pictures. We have the misting rings out there, which are a huge success. It was our version of a splash pad light so that our maintenance folks didn't freak out. But it is so cool to watch people just dance through the mist. On Sunday, the Parks Department programmed National Bubble Day, so they had bubble machines out and the mist, and the kids were hula hooping in it, and like, it was just pure joy on the riverfront, so we're really excited down there. So, also over the last year, it's just been kind of a year of playgrounds and fun, so we also installed this playground at the Riverview using, capital outlay. It's also been a huge success. It was 43 years old. It was installed the same year I was born, the original one. So, it was time for an upgrade. And we also built a new rescue facility out there, so it's nice to keep those improvements coming out there. It's much needed. All right, so now for this year's request. So we have 5 requests this year. 4 of them are carryovers from previous years, and then we have one new one that we'll look at the end. So I think the first one is for the Riverview erosion repair. This one has been a recurring request. The condition at the river's edge out at the Riverview or the Fly has just really deteriorated for various reasons, from high river levels and theft of the rocks, and all sorts of things are really eroding the bank. And what that's doing is creating a really unsafe condition. You can see, this was actually taken a couple of years ago, and we were just starting to have this cracking of the sidewalk. Now it's been a couple of years. Now the sidewalk is falling in, it's all cordoned off with orange construction fence. It's become a really unsafe place in a public park. We had a new sinkhole happen just a couple months ago, so the condition deteriorates every year, unfortunately. This request is for the balance of what we believe this project to cost. So in the previous CEA, we had money, 2.86 million allocated for stormwater resiliency in Audubon Park. That was reallocated for stormwater, or for this erosion repair. That funding is supposed to come through with the next bond sale. So we're asking for the balance of that, so that on this sort of project, the mobilization is going to be the largest cost. So if we could do as much as possible at once, that's what we're asking for here.
Okay. Is there an update on timing on the bond sale? Is it still a November anticipated sale date?
It's currently advertising right
Oh,
now.
good.
Yeah, and so we close next month.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so just back to that one real quick, we did have MMI engineers do a preliminary assessment and plan for repairs, so we have early engineering ready to go. We haven't reassessed because we've been waiting on the funding to come through. We don't wanna keep going out there and paying for surveys until we're really ready to go, but so you can see what I did is I took the total budget, I subtracted that 2.86 that was reallocated, so that's why we're requesting 1.4.
Okay.
All right, so then the second one, this is a continuous request that we make every year for just continued infrastructure improvements out at the Riverview and Fly. This is, a really valued community asset, and it's got we have a lot of deferred maintenance out there. We think that, we just did some improvements out there, which is great, but we have more to go, and so a kind of a steady infusion of capital would help us deal with some of the deferred maintenance. So we're mostly looking at things like improving sidewalks, improving ADA access, upgraded lighting, really kind of basic improvements out there. And so we've taken this and spread it over a 3-year request. Let's see, so on this, we've taken the 9.2 total budget, and like I said, we spread it over 3 years, after subtracting the 1.52 that we already received and spent on the playground and the restroom and the other improvements out there. We're pretty much wrapped up with the previous CEA's funding. We do have a small balance remaining that we are using to add a couple more benches, water fountains, and some shade trees, and we don't wanna plant the trees until after the summer, so there's just a small bit left, but otherwise it's open to the public and going. Okay, this one's fun. So this is stormwater resilience. This one is another carryover from previous requests. So we have 1.189 million in HMGP funding that is going to be used for initial design and site evaluation. This project is very much going to be in conjunction with the city. We don't know what this project looks like yet. There's a lot of evaluation that needs to be done. So that initial funding goes towards planning and evaluation. There's a $4.6 million request from the next bond sale. And then otherwise, it's about a $20 million project. And so based on the timing of the funding for initial design and the time that it'll take for evaluation, and then assuming that the next 4.6 comes through on the bond sale, we've pushed this request out a couple of years. So this request, let me see if I can go back to the timing of this one. So we're splitting it over 3 years to be a little strategic about not tearing up the entire park all at once. So we're requesting 7.8 million for over 3 years, starting in 28. And that's to try to line up the timing with the other funding that's coming through.
Okay, and you said that the design isn't completed yet or really even started?
That's correct, because the current funding that's, I don't know the status of it right now, Kyle.
We have not gotten the, award letter from the state yet, but
Oh,
in
it's
this,
capital outlay,
it's a hazard mitigation
Oh,
project
HMGP,
from IDA.
okay.
And so it says obligated in the system, but they have not distributed any of the award letter info. So we're hopeful with, FEMA reopening, that whatever maybe delays may have been happening are going to be resolved soon. But we've already had initial conversations about the CEA and kind of how to get this project rolling while we wait for that money to come in.
Yeah, we know there's a really short timeline for getting that funding spent, and so we're kind of trying to gear up and be ready to just make sure that gets spent, and then that we don't lose momentum. That's why this request is scheduled for 28.
And that initial 1.1 million is just phase one design, and so if we're able to show that this will have like a benefit of reduction in flooding, then it's eligible for phase two construction funding. So there is the potential for another 11 or 12 million from the HMGP program.
Okay, and the idea is that, it would offset pressure on the pumps, it would store stormwater, maybe offset pressure from the neighborhood,
Correct.
mitigate flooding, okay.
Right, yeah.
But there's no sense of like the cubic feet that would end up being.
That's the thing, is we need to do all the evaluation of the site, and that's what that HMGP money is to do.
Okay.
You know, we've done
And
very
this is
preliminary.
just the whole of Audubon Park, or is
It
there
is
a
written as the
specific-
whole of Audubon Park. To me,
Okay.
that means St. Charles to the river.
Okay.
There doesn't seem to be any exclusions.
Okay,
So there's a lot of opportunity there. We're kind of excited to see what the possibilities are, but there's a lot of studying and surveying that has to happen to even start to go with that.
it's a neat project.
It's a very cool project.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, this is another, carryover from last year. So at the Audubon Zoo, we have a lot of aging mechanical systems. Many of them are 30 to 40 years old. They rely on R22 refrigerant. It wasn't that kind of a slide. So R22 has been phased out. It means that we are paying more and more to get the refrigerant. These systems are energy inefficient, and they are releasing ozone depleting chemicals into the world, which is not something we like to do. So we're looking for funding to start to replace some of those most offensive mechanical systems. There are about 80 pieces of equipment identified throughout the zoo that need replacement. So this is asking for funding over 2 years to address those replacements. I particularly like this project because we could spend this money very quickly.
Okay.
These aren't huge systems that require tons of engineering or front-end work, so it really would be kind of like a immediate spend an immediate improvement.
That was gonna be my question, is this more your smaller size? type
It is, I mean,
units
it's
and
mostly things
almost like a
under,
residential,
under 15 tons is
Yeah.
mostly what we're looking at, and it's those older ones that are on this older refrigerant that we've been duct taping back together for 15 years already, so, yeah, we think it would certainly result in a massive improvement pretty immediately, so.
Okay.
All right, this is the new request this year. So at Governor Nichols, as part of the project, we built a steel barrier at the edge of the wharf. So this is where Moonwalk butts up to Governor Nichols. When the river gets low, there's just completely open access under the wharf, and it creates a really unsafe condition for the public. It's scary for the wharf itself. Also, you know, when people are under there, they're doing things to deteriorate the wharf structures. It's also just very safe for the people who end up unsafe for the people who end up under there. So there have been various attempts at blocking people off from getting under the wharfs in the past. This is probably the most aggressive that we've seen in the downtown riverfront. This was engineered by Waldemar Nelson, who specializes in wharves. And so we constructed it, and it's working. So we're very pleased with that. Yeah. We didn't want to declare success until we had kind of seen it for a little while, but it does appear to be working. And so this request is to build the same wharf barrier on the Bienville wharf side. So this is over kind of close to where the paddle wheelers are. It's the place that we're also seeing the most activity under the wharf.
Now, just say, I don't know if I've been out to take a look at it since they built this piece of it. Is it just on the side?
It is
Okay.
just on the side. So technically someone can still go under the wharf. There
Well,
are
I mean,
ways.
I just know that when we were out there before, when there were lots of people under there, the river was obviously much lower, so it was kind of a, even if you had something on the end, you could potentially get around.
When the river is really low, you can climb on the barrier to get out and around, but you can't carry your belongings
Right.
really. And that's really the thing. If it's too hard to get under there, like, yes, there are still people that can get under there. We have still had to run a couple people out, but we aren't seeing dozens of people living down there. And the problem is when they're living there, building fires and bringing other people down there. So it's a drastic improvement. We're pretty close with it.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's fine. That was our last request, actually.
Okay.
So, that request is very simple. We have the exact cost of that. It will have to be slightly re-engineered for a different work, but that cost is pretty minimal. So it's just a single request for next year for $327,000.
Okay, and just so y'all are aware, because the bond, you know, the bonds will be sold this summer, everything that those bonds will go to is already predetermined by the list that the voters approved through those, through the vote. And so any new projects, they'll be included in the CIP, process, but the money allocated will be $0, like proposed within the document. Just to make you aware of that.
But it is our planning tool so that, you know, the projects that got selected for that bond proposition last fall came from this process. And so that's why we need to do this every year anyway. And so as we get to spending down those bonds, then we will be using this CIP to develop the next list. And so that's just going to be the process over the next couple of years. I also want to note, like, we have a tentative list for the projects that will be funded out of this first sale. And so the last $5 million for the wharves is included, but nothing else for Audubon at that time. So I just wanted to clarify that it's unlikely that any of the other projects will get funded through this first sale. So the intent is to have another sale in 2028, and then you know, we'll reevaluate if we need to wait for 2030. But if we do well with spending the first two bond sales, then we're hopeful that it'll be a little bit quicker, and then we'll have to go out to that next proposition then for the next round of projects.
And just to clarify, for the projects that we had, like not in this request, but the ones that were in the current CEA, so there was like a variance for the, work repair that we did,
Right.
so there's like another calculator stuff for that.
Yeah.
And then the, bridge on the Boulevard Park improvement,
Both of those
Both
will
of
not
them.
be included.
they're not in the,
No.
okay.
Not until 2028.
Yeah. So we definitely need to meet again, to kind of talk about strategy, but I just wanted to let y'all know.
And so
Um,
the erosion control funding would also wait till 28?
Is that?
That's how we were gonna reallocate the Goldenberg money to.
I'll have to look at that, cause some of that stuff was included in the drainage and stormwater, so I need to see what was included out of that bucket. But yes, we need to meet again just to talk about the wards as well. And so I know you've submitted the invoice
Yeah.
for the funds that were available from the settlements and the insurance, and so, we wanted to get those funds distributed so that then we can kind of talk about what's happening next.
Okay.
So, talking about the walks, I just wanted to be, I understand the Crescent Park and also the, Mandeville Wharf repair allegiance that are still kind of in the works, I guess, in many ways. Can you speak to that a little bit and what we might be waiting for?
We are not involved in the repairs to the Mandeville
Okay.
Wharf.
No, that would be part of the conversation of when we can get
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
other money to them.
Cause
Yeah.
currently, that's under the jurisdiction of Parks and Parkways.
Okay.
I do wanna mention though too, we still have the state capital outlay money for Avenger Field.
Right.
So it's a very,
We
it's a
still
very
need to
small
do that,
amount,
okay.
yeah, and so I just wanna put that
Okay.
back, because, it is a cash source, so
Yep.
I just wanna make sure that we can get something to the state so that they don't pull that back due to
Right.
inactivity.
Yeah.
Is Renee Becknell still in project manager?
No, he retired.
He did retire, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know,
There's
we have
about
that.
$80,000 remaining in that fund.
I think it was like 100,000, and then after you take out the admin fees, I think it's around 90,000. It may be 87.
87,
Yeah, 87,
sounds
something
right.
like that.
Yeah, it's a very small amount.
But all the projects have been distributed to different, project managers at FP&C, so I don't, since we haven't engaged them, we probably
Yeah.
need to re-engage them to see
Yeah,
who.
just wondering if we have crossover.
Yeah,
We
That
all
would be
have,
convenient.
we all have new project managers that have been.
okay, alright. And kind of the only question I have, is, so Audubon benefited a lot from the last bond proposition. There are a lot of projects, that, got funded through the 2019 bond proposition. And Audubon is one of the few agencies that also has their own bonding capacity. Can you just speak about kind of what Audubon is doing then with your own bonds and kind of what projects those are being funded?
So we did 2 bond sales, back in 2020 and 2021. And the proceeds were used for the renovation of the aquarium and moving the insectarium into the aquarium, building, plus some improvements to Goldenberg Park outside. And then there were a couple of other projects that it contributed to. We, had like Jaguar Jungle at the zoo, it kind of provided matching funds for, state capital outlay dollars. And we're also using it for this Odenheimer renovation that we're doing. So we have drawn down all of our bonds. Our capacity is pretty limited because right now the millage money is going into our operating budget primarily. About $5.5 million a year is going into the operating budget. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for what else to bond out at this point. So I don't anticipate us doing a bond sale, maybe a short one that's like a 10-year or something, but we don't have the capacity to do that right now.
Thank you.
Okay. Just one pretty picture we'll try and put up. The last
I
picture.
can't seem to.
Well, that was pretty. See, that's not us, though, just to be clear.
That looks like some kind of
That was on the
dead
back
tree,
side.
huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's hidden on the bench or somewhere. Oh, yeah.
Those swinging benches are really cool.
Oh,
Like those, you know,
yeah.
I thought I'd do like
The
a.
whole thing is great. My kids love it. They're like, can we go to the playground on the river?
That's awesome.
Yes. we
It's
all
so
love it.
nice to see it being, it's just amazing, the minute we cut the ribbon, it's like people just started using it exactly like it was intended to be used.
And
Yeah.
I've also danced through the mist, and 10 out of 10, it's great.
Yeah,
Aw.
that's great.
I think it's really great. Yeah, more to come as we get on the next phase. It is, it is.
I love this guy in that picture.
Yeah. The other thing that was cool is opening up the gate between us and Crescent Park. Like,
People were just
immediately.
immediately there.
I mean, there were like people waiting to get onto the,
Like that old commercial, open,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
store that was.
and they were like they're jogging through, and, we did some Placer and I did a partnership with with New Orleans and Company, and the usage has definitely increased, and you see it increasing usage in Crescent Park as well. Now, we did have French Quarter Festival in the middle of that, but, you know, just the daily use seems to be trending upwards, and it's gonna be nice to see what happens in a quiet month.
Right.
Yeah, actually, this isn't a quiet month, because we got tall ships coming at the end of
Right.
May.
Hopefully we don't have to quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also, we're now able to host 5K runs without closing down city streets. So French Quarter Fest held the first 5K on the riverfront, which seems like a really great opportunity, and it means that we can just have more things like that, because it costs a lot less.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
That's really good. Awesome.
yeah, good things
Means
coming.
the marathon will be all the way to. the
It might be running through there.
We have a little more park to build to facilitate.
Yeah, for now, it's just a walk ride, but, it's great.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Just whenever you're ready to set up the time.
I'll show you the payment through, so.
Thank you. Everything else we did.
Have some good news to talk about.
So I'm just so excited, we know how to use brass, we know how to use brass. Learning all sorts of things. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Good to see you.
I haven't heard from the library.
I thought we had 4 this morning.
I'm gonna have to look up some stuff.
I think,
for
the
my-
person from NOMA is right here. It looks like that person from the library just showed up.
I'll be back.
Hi, guys.
I'm short and sweet, so.
You could just sign it and then, sit over there,
The end,
and
okay.
we'll just let you, you know,
Yeah.
state your name and the entity, and then we'll do the rest. I'll get them up on the screen. Okay.
We can get you out before it starts raining.
Yeah. I mean, this one should be, this is gonna be short and sweet, and nowhere near as fancy as the previous two, so.
Okay, well, great. Do we need to wait for Kyle, or, I think we can go ahead and get started. So you can just start out by, providing an introduction. We'll start, actually, we'll just go around the room and then you can just go through the request. So I'm Laura Bryan, City Planning Commission.
Cindy Webb, City Planning Commission.
Cameron Glossier, City Planning.
Hey Massey, I'm the Deputy Director of City Planning.
And I am Steve Lewis, I'm representing Noma.
Okay.
Jerry Harris, Director of Capital Projects.
Alright, we can start on this one. So this year, Noma only has one request out. This one is it's a newer request for, security upgrades. So what it pertains to is the repairs to the access control systems throughout the building. We recently completed a project. This is like the second phase of the first project. We had to do some of the infrastructure first, and this is just kind of tidying up whatever we have left over to bring our access control systems back up to par. The replacement of card readers consists of about 7 old card readers that need to be replaced and 5 new card reader locations that need to be installed. And then the addition of cameras in areas that are currently without cameras. Currently, the museum probably has about 50% of the galleries that are protected with cameras, so we have about another 50% that we need to get under camera coverage. And then upgrades to the Wi-Fi infrastructure. Currently, it's pretty much confined to the first floor. Biggest issue probably with all of this, and the reason why we haven't done a lot of it in-house is access for cabling. We have the 1910 building, which is kind of the square section of the building that has very thick walls and very limited access to running the cabling. So the cabling is one of the biggest challenges, and probably one of the bigger costs is just trying to find routes and get stuff to it. We're looking for the first year, $132,400 basically for get design work going, and then the following year, $264,800 to for the construction side of the project.
Okay. Pretty simple. I don't know if anybody have any questions.
I don't have a question about this request, but, you know, in previous years, some of your projects appear to have been, you know, selected for funding with this most recent bond authorization. One thing that I don't believe made that list was the public education gallery space renovations.
I think it made the list, but not for the first bond sale. I think that, that's for the second, subsequent one, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
That one, there was the basement repairs, that wing there, and the HVAC upgrades, and I think for this first bond sale, the HVAC is part of that, and I think the other two are subsequent.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah.
You doing anything for?
At least that's my understanding.
That'd be all I have. I am very, happy that you may be replacing your HVAC after decades worth of work, requesting.
Yes. It was nice to get 4 of them done, and it'd be nice to get the rest of them done, so looking forward to that project.
I don't have any questions.
All right.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
No problem.
All right.
Rest of your day.
Yep, stay dry.
Yeah, I'm gonna be running now, so.
See you later.
Yeah, good seeing you.
All right, you're back to
Yeah, I think the mechanical stock was in the first bond sale. I don't know if there was something else, but I know there was a chop around.
If you could actually sit at that edge,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
okay, and,
Let's sign the sign-in sheet,
Good.
just.
That's been a long time coming.
Well, I know they've gotten a few done here and there, but this is like a bigger chunk of it.
And designs already all done and everything, right? Yeah, previous.
Yeah, this would just roll into getting them over for placement.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is one, sorry.
Yeah, good to see you.
I'm sorry. How you doing?
We'll send this to you, via email. It's
Yes, ma'am, maybe it could be attached and press the code, and the other stuff.
Well, we can definitely add it, I can add it online.
Okay.
So it's available for people. If you, can you send me the visual copy of this?
Yes.
so that we can-
Okay.
All right, we'll do a round of introductions and then you guys can jump on into your list. So Laura Bryan, City Planning Commission.
Haley Webb, City Planning Commission.
Cameron Coissier, City Planning Commission.
Larry Massey, I'm Deputy Director of City Planning.
Kyle Holman, Capital Budget.
Michelle Thompson, Fiscal Administrator for NPO.
Sam McGlone, Facility Administrator for NOPO.
Jerry Harris, Director of Capital Projects.
Okay.
Okay, again, Michelle Thompson, Fiscal Administrator. I was the Capital Project Liaison, working with our rep to speak on behalf of the library and their needs as it relates to the buildings. And last year I mentioned that we had a position open for Facility Administrator, which is Sam McGlone. So we're very happy to have him. He's been working closely with Jerry and Justin on our current projects. And I'm just gonna speak a little bit on our first request, and then Sam will take it over from there. So the first request is the main library elevator and HVAC replacements, which is currently ongoing right now. We are waiting for the construction documents. And with that said, it's been some time since the inception of this project to where we are now, where we anticipate prices to increase on completing this project. So what we're requesting is the dollars that were allocated to us, the bonds for the citywide HVAC roof replacements, that those dollars will be reallocated back to our project. And then we will use those funds to complete the main project. So when those funds were reallocated from the library and put onto other city projects, we funded the citywide HVAC roof replacements with our fund balance, taking the $3 million out of that to replace it on 5 buildings. We've had a lot of issues with the HVAC system since the buildings were rebuilt, and we found a lot of inconsistencies in the way the roof was installed. But we're finding consistent problems on all the buildings that the installation was not done correctly. And so we're just asking that if those funds can be returned to us, and then we will use those dollars to complete the elevator HVAC project at the main library. And we passed out a supplement, so you'll see we do have approximate cost on this project. We budgeted $8 million for this project. The base bid is on page 2 of the supplement is 7.48. If we choose the base bid plus alternative 1, that can be a little bit over $8 million. And if we were to choose the base bid plus both of the alternates, it can run about $8.5 million. And we're hoping to have these numbers started up
In the next
by
few
the month.
months. So this is off of statement of probable costs submitted by the design team to CPA and us at the end of construction document phase. So we're going into bidding documents. There's gonna be a few tweaks as we look at alternates. So alternate 2 is gonna get split up to alternate 2 and 3. We have a request from the mayor's office and CAO to look at alternative phasing for the project, which will increase costs and time. So with the market where it is, things are uncertain. We are expecting a little bit of a shortfall.
And that's it on that project.
So
Can you speak to any kind of outages in the HVAC system over this past year? Just
Sure.
kind of supplement like the.
yeah, so the equipment that's in the building now is at the end of its life. Main branch, all the branches are designated cooling centers. We haven't had any major shutdowns because of HVAC since I've only been there for 10 weeks. So over the last 10 weeks, our major pain point's been around water supply, plumbing supply, but the HVAC system being at the end of its life, there is an opportunity for it to shut down have to close the branch completely. And because of the age and condition of the equipment, repairs wouldn't bring it back online quickly. It would be a Band-Aid, and then that would only just extend the problem, which would increase the cost for the full replacement of that equipment. Cool. So moving on to the next one, this is something I'm very excited to learn about when I joined the library team. My first interview, my mind was exploding. When I found out that the city has 300 years worth of documentation, physical media, in the basement, in 2 levels of basement at the main library. So you'll see what the narrative that's in front of you. I'm not gonna read through the whole thing, but these are our projections based on a feasibility study done in 2023. Great thing about city archives is as time expands, or as you go through time, there's a requirement for the library to keep physical records of all city proceedings, and it's also a great resource. City Archives has an extreme value to the larger A&E community throughout New Orleans. Being in private practice, I would rely on fire insurance maps and also Sanborn maps all the time. Has not been a project that I've worked on or dug a foundation or worked on an existing building where we didn't find something unexpected. City Archives has a lot of that information. I think so what we're asking for is the standalone building. We're asking to move the archives out of the basement and out of the 3rd floor, 2 levels of basement and the 3rd floor, into its own protected building. It's off the ground above BFE, above base flood elevation. And that would give the archives a longer life and also allow the greater public to have better access to the archives. I think there's immense value to the A&E community, also to the general public, stored in our archives. It's a great amount of documentation. It's a world-renowned collection. So when Christina, the head of our archives division, goes to conferences and talks with other archivists, they talk about documents from the early or late 1800s, right? We have documents that go back to late 1700s. We have the history of New Orleans, y'all know, is extensive, and it's great that we have all that media, but we are at we're very close to losing that. So if you flip 2 pages down, you'll see a couple images that I noted. So during Katrina, the floodwaters were within 6 inches of flooding the basement at the library. So the image at the top is just a graphic showing how close we were. There's an arrow and some verbiage that points to the plumbing chase that leads directly down to the basement. And you'll see below it, there's a section cut through a Matterport scan showing the 2 levels of basement underneath that red level. So that was all within 6 inches of being flooded and lost. So it's in dire need. In the next 2 pages, you'll see pictures a few weeks after Katrina happened. Floodwaters up to the 1st floor of the library. So luckily, the basement wasn't flooded, the archives survived. I was excited to hear that when I was joining the library, but it's in dire need of a new location.
Has a site, excuse me, has a site been selected for that proposed location?
No, we've had some discussions with the planning group and our tripwise about a greater municipal complex, but no specific details, no site location. We talked about general square footages that are presented in the 2023 breakdown. So looking at the 2033, around 40,000 square feet, 38,000 square feet is necessary just to house the collection, and that's further broken down throughout the subject.
Okay, so no design has been started for that?
No, that's in our request. That's the first amount of money is to do that feasibility study, investigation, selecting a site, seeing if there are any city buildings that are the right fit for it, and then going through the design process.
So some historical background. So there were $2 million assigned to do investigatory work of where the archives can go. And one of the buildings was a municipal auditorium. But again, funds reallocated. My counter was, hey, but that money was attached to that project, not to that building. And so that's another $2 million that were reallocated from us, found dollars. Maybe not funded, but it was earmarked for us. And so there have been ideas. I've been with the library almost 20 years, and there's been ideas in the past 10 years of what we can do, but nothing has come to fruition. So it was a municipal auditorium. It was the Navy base was an idea as well. And right now, I've noticed conversation of possibly if a new city hall is built, maybe a Duncan Plaza or stuff like that. So there's a lot of, ideas, but no, hard plan. And so we are internally trying to, identify opportunities, and that we can present something to attach dollars to it, to, see it visually, what it would look like, because it's not only the items in the building, it is also the people who manage the items. And at the end of every mayoral, term, we by law have to take all of those documents, emails, all of those things, and house them, and, put them in a database and catalog them. So we have a huge responsibility, and we're running out of space.
And, so before we go on, then, we've been hearing from a lot of NOPD, the clerk of criminal district court, that they need storage space, evidence space. Like, is there, is it possible to co-locate with potential, like, new locations for those? Or are there unique things that may not make that viable?
Yeah, I can speak to, so there are specific humidity and temperature requirements that are best practices for archives. That may be separate and apart to any temperature and humidity requirements for evidence. Also, the security around evidence is gonna be different than the security around archives. One thing that's specific to archives is fire suppression systems have to be completely watered, so oxygen evacuated. It wouldn't be able, storage wouldn't be able to be an occupied space in the event of an emergency. The halon system would come on and everybody would have to evacuate. It'd be separate and apart from any kind of evidence. I think there might be operational, there might be an opportunity to operationally have storage buildings, but there would need to be a clear separation between NOPD and PD or whatever department. We'd also need to access it. We need to be able to pull records at the request of city or state or federal officials.
Or in the public, because it's a division of our collections.
And so many years ago, when that plan was completed, you know, that explored the opportunity at NSA versus building a new structure kind of behind the main library. You know, there was, the opinion of the library at the time was that it is ideally located adjacent to or connected to the main library, right? Just
Proximity is important.
I'm sure that's a consideration, but it sounds like you all are a much, your need is very urgent, in the sense that, you know, maybe you kind of loosen up on those location requirements.
I believe yes, because I think at the time, we didn't know, we weren't clear if there was a sliver of the parking lot that was owned by 2 lanes. So we cleared that up, the entire parking lot is city proper. Another idea that we revisited the Ladder Library and how that building was donated to the city to function as a library, as long as the library functioned in that building. And so there are no restrictions where maybe we can do an annex to that building, which is closer to the river, which is a higher ground, and then, you know, maybe the staff can work in the main building, but then the annex would be aesthetically pleasing to the area, but also would house all of those things and be raised, and so there's enough land there. So that's one of the areas that we were thinking of, where we would, you know, again, put information together to present to the city, like, hey, we've done some legwork, these are some ideas. Cause we know everybody's busy, everybody's asking for dollars, and then also with, Sam on board, we can also, or he can also investigate monies that are out there for archive and historical items. So it's that missing link we didn't have to do that research, dedicate 100% of their time.
That's great. Yeah, I imagine the conversations with the adjacent neighborhood would be, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll work on that thing until
Yeah.
right? It's the selling, and I think we can't even really like blur it, although I don't see that, we couldn't find you guys on YouTube today. So it's more of, we have to put out so they can see like, oh, what's that kind of deal, and do renderings and kind of like just test the water, so,
I mean, it is an asset to the city and to the people, and I think that, you know, reasonable minds would see it as such.
yeah, and I think again, if people understand what it is, they will be amazed, and the Louisiana Division puts on a great program. They just had a genealogy program that was held, in one of the Nords facilities.
Yeah,
And they're
recent
heavily
passage.
attended, and
Yeah.
so, it'll help us promote and put more things on display. They always have a wonderful display at the main library on the first floor. There's a lot of promotion around it, but this will definitely, help highlight them even more, because the police department, they do come in to look at documents, the people who are filming. Spike Lee came one time, and so they're all coming, that, like Sam said, it's international recognition.
Yeah.
Selfishly, our department, we use it as well.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go, right.
Yeah. Anytime, the city archives there, Christine is extremely excited to have anybody visit and help.
Yes.
I'm astounded at how much documentation she can find and how quickly and how organized everything is. Truck-wise, the group that does feasibility studies came and we use this as an asset for another project. So I think the value is there, just finding the right location. I think is key. So moving on to the next project, the next request is for Keller Library. So we recently had HVAC and some partial roof replacement at Keller Library. This request is for a full building envelope sustainability and renovation. Keller is two parts, the existing house and the new structure that was built after Katrina. The new structure got new HVAC equipment and a new roof membrane. The existing house is, for all intents and purposes, is still a house that is acting like a library. The windows are existing to the building. The thermal value is not there. There are some design flaws in the house that there's, if you flip to the third, you'll see pictures of leaky windows and plaster damage. There's 4 pictures arranged on page 9. There's a valley in the roof that leads directly to a wall. That wall has some conduit built through it, so it's not ideal or in terms of a waterproofing perspective. So the roof would need to be rebuilt, and we're seeing some HDLC and or historic preservation would have some input on that design and renovation project. So this year we're asking for, I think Keller is $600,000 for the investigation design in 2028, looking at full build at 7.
And would this include any of the, well, I guess in past years, there was an addition proposed for this building, would this include that addition?
No.
Just stabilization?
Yeah, so the new build has had interior moisture issues through
By an
pictures.
extension. So we had
right.
originally asked for an
Sorry.
annex for the staff and for the manager, because
Now
they,
on space.
right, and they have like a pod as their office, and so what we're hoping to do with this space, because the BIA is moving out of it, but they will use it for some programming, we're hoping to take over that area and then, use it for, more meeting space, because there isn't a meeting room in that location. We use for offices and then a break room for the staff, because currently they do not, they have like table behind, and they have no real break from the public, because you can, it's a 360 view of where the surf desk is and where there's a green pod, and then all around it. So, this will definitely help them with their operations. If we can, secure those windows, moisture and seal it.
Yeah, with the installation of the new HVAC equipment, excuse me.
New roof, not a new HDD.
Yeah, or the work that was done on the roof, and, it's value added, or it would be, the windows, new window technology is leaps and bounds beyond when the building was built. But we still would pay homage to the historic nature of the building, and keep the character of the Keller Library in the neighborhood is very important. We get a lot of citizen input from where we park our trucks.
Yeah. Everybody's so invested in this, you love it.
It's just for the historic part of the library and
That's
not,
the
nothing's
historic.
happening in the modern.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, the last two are just 1 page each. So Alvar, out in the Bywater Treme area, recently, so you'll see two in just 2017 and 2019, there was a significant, and I'm sure y'all saw the project come through, significant condo built around Alvar, significantly reduced Alvar's ability to handle stormwater, and that is eroding at the ground. Now, it's also, there's moisture intrusion from the so we're doing what we can to mitigate that, but a larger intervention is needed. And I think the images show, just to speak for themselves, so looking at the amount of available green space to absorb stormwater in 2017 versus the amount of available green space in 2019 to absorb stormwater there's nothing in the adjacent properties. The only property now, the only space to absorb stormwater is Alvar's lot. And there's subsidence, there's erosion.
And then we also lost a lot of natural light,
Yes.
in that one room building at Alvar. There are, windows toward the ceiling, and so the condo is so tall, we're losing light. Recently, when the time was darker earlier, we had some electrical issues, and so we had to close early because we didn't have any light in the building, and there wasn't enough.
And in years past, the building was able to operate in low light levels because they had such great natural light.
So would the stormwater management happen in that kind of vacant area that's like adjacent to the building on the library side?
So
Or-
the request is to do a few feasibility studies of what best interventions. There is an opportunity within the city-owned properties, 2 lots that cover Alvar, and you can see that in the top left-hand corner. There's the vacant lot that's next to the building. I think there's an opportunity to do stormwater interventions there. Also looking at where the adjacent properties are discharging, and if we can connect physical pipes so that it's not discharging onto NOPL property and then going directly into the mains. There may be some subsurface work that's needed. I live in the Gentilly Resiliency District, it's Pontilli. Love the interventions there. I think they're really well thought out and implemented. Maintenance is always an issue, but I think that something similar could be implemented here and have a great effect. We've investigated, our options are on the table, looking at, I possibly talk about raising the building, trying to get above the BFE. That may be too big of an ask, but there are other interventions that could be beneficial.
So is it the case that the adjacent building is shedding water onto the library property, or is it that property that the library's, or is it the case that the library's property sheds water towards the adjacent and now it can't go anywhere?
Both are happening at the same time.
Sometime.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. The area had better accommodation to accept stormwater, and so with the decrease of the green space around Alvar, it just doesn't absorb it, and also some of the water is being discharged onto the property.
And, I ask because I wonder, it seems like if there is, sounds like the adjacent building is responsible for this issue, then there's some recourse that we have.
Copy that. In the interim, the recourse, as you know, it would take time to
Yeah,
have
sure.
an intervention. It's also dealing with a private entity versus public. So if as a new library, one thing that I have in the back of my mind is thinking of each library as a resiliency center. So trying to make that building as strong as we're all the buildings are identified as schooling centers, great assets to the public. So I agree with your point that there is some responsibility and liability on that property owner, but that would take time.
I'm curious too, the city does have regulations for some of these, and so I'm curious.
So the timing is opportune. If you look at when the stormwater management rules were revised, 2019, I think, was right before the new implementation of stormwater management projects. As we know through fire department headquarters, it's a project I think back to. We had to deal with a lot of new stormwater management requests that have since changed since then. So that even in the last 5 years, things have shifted.
Yeah, but even prior to that, you still aren't supposed to discharge adjacent property.
Precisely, you want to be good neighbors.
That's always been
If you were to exit Elbows back door, you're looking at the condo.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much space. Like, they took every single inch possible to build the condo.
Right.
Have you then met with Megan Williams then? Because you mentioned the Gentilly Resilience District.
Oh, not, so not professionally, no, I haven't met with Megan.
We'll definitely encourage you to do that because they're always looking at these opportunities and they have a lot of experience with these interventions. And so, obviously something like this would be a good eligibility for like a grant.
100%.
So,
Megan Williams?
and I know having that initial like planning and design potentially out of the way makes it, you know, a better option for selection, so.
And so maybe Rose is with which department?
Office of Sustainability. They manage the NDR grant for the Gentility Resilience District.
Right on.
With Sam being you, are there any other people that he should be connected with to help him where he's at? Again, we've been, very fortunate to be at the table in a lot of discussions recently, which we appreciate. And so we just wanna, again, familiarize everybody about the library and.
I think Austin Feldbaum, he's in the mitigation office.
Okay.
And so he submits grants for hazard mitigation, BRIC, the building resilience, FEMA grants.
Mhm.
So that would be another option, and then, besides Megan, but nothing, no one else is coming to mind. But yeah, those would be the best opportunities to find potential grant sources and interventions that would be, you know, beneficial to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much, that's great, that's a great asset. So moving on to the last request is for MLK. So currently, the MLK library location is housed inside MLK school. That's presented some, so I guess the original inception, there was thought to be some, I can't think of, synergy between the
Yes.
school and the library, right? So there, you think of like the school and library kind of dealing with books, dealing with children, kind of being the same thing, but they really operate as two different entities. The school operates as a custodian of the children. There are specific rules around, y'all are familiar with the rules around schools and children. The libraries operate differently, so, where we thought the housing of the library inside the school would be a good fit, it's serving as, some operational challenges right now. We rely on the school to give us access to the space. We can't lock or unlock the building without, their input. There's also public bathrooms where, you know, there's not laws, but best practices around bathrooms in schools. You don't want adults unattended with children that are also unattended in a bathroom. Having patrons from the library use a public bathroom that's adjacent to a school poses some concerns. So having MLK break out and be a standalone building, and again, so we're asking for enough money to do a feasibility study and some location finding now and then design work later. But we're hopeful that we could find a city-owned property that could be renovated, or if there's not even or in the area, then looking at a new build. But first, trying to renovate something that's already done.
About how many square feet are you hoping for?
Let's see. Okay, it's really small. Oh.
And it doesn't have to be exact, just like a rough idea.
Well, let's just say, is we've looked at, a vacant Family Dollar near that area and a CVS, and we were hoping it would be an opportunity to move some of our operations from the main library. So speaking of the project of the new AC and new elevator at the main library, we're gonna have to be shut down for an extended period of time. They spoke with the mayor, and they're asking if we can look at the cost of phasing it, which would increase the cost and extend the period of time that we're closed. And so we were like, oh, this is a push for us to think about how do we get the operations out of the main library, dependent upon another library, inside of a branch, because that's where our IT department is, and they are the connectivity to push out internet access to all other 14 locations. And so we were thinking that if we had the opportunity to move into a vacant Dollar Tree or a Dollar General, we can have the library in the main area, so about maybe 3,000 square feet. No more than 5 is what it is right now, and so we can't get any larger because we're having trouble hiring people. Besides the hiring freezes, also getting people to work for the library with all the new laws in place in Louisiana dealing with access to books, right? And potential librarians going to jail. So, there's a lot of challenges with that, so we don't wanna get any bigger, but we figured the back house where like the pharmacy and where supplies come in, we can put operations behind it. So it could be like a library and an operations center.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea on that and the size, so we're asking, you know, is there a list of buildings that the city currently owns that are vacant? We were working with, Tony Thompson, who was a real estate administrator, but she's no longer with us. We asked and did the form to, give our building needs. We never really had gotten a list of what's available so that we can maybe, not, but just see what's out there. So, I don't know, I think they're under property management, real estate, so I know they're strapped, so, I know Sam's, was like, I'm gonna look, so optimistic, I'm gonna look online to see what's available, I can find that information, so we're there now, that's where we are right now, seeing what's out there.
Okay. So the, 842,000, that would be for like A&E, or like after you identify a potential site, and then the 9.4 million, that is what is the projected cost for construction?
Yes, if we're holding around 5,000, 6,000 square feet.
Okay, alright.
We understand the financial strain of the city, we're, feeling that as well, with people and businesses leaving the city, which reduces our tax base, because we're fully funded with millage funds. And, we have had a reserve balance of a little bit over $20 million. We pulled out 12 million for the current projects at Maine and the design bill to replace that 3 million. And then we also are supplementing operating in our strategic plan. We are, only yielding about 22 million in funding from millage funding. Prior to COVID, we were pulling, or maybe a couple of years into a little bit past COVID, we would yield about 24 million, so we have lost $2 million in excess that we will put into our reserves to help keep that balance. And so we're, at the end of the year, if the main library was completed, we would have less than 6 million in our reserves. And so we are putting the skin in the game as asked before, but we also need to have a savings for emergencies. So, we're not gonna be able to sustain and manage these buildings with those dollars without affecting operations.
So it's the end of the second minute.
That's all I ask.
Do you want email digital copies of, I have a flash drive.
Yeah, we'll email
I
it
know,
to.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're restricted from flash drives.
Yeah, we're copying
Oh,
that, yeah.
oh, okay. We don't have anything on it.
Being 2 months in, I'm still learning all the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I find my junk mail is often more full than my inbox. Everything's very there.
I'll try and see if we can think of any like layers that might be helpful to you, like GIS maps or layers that we have access to, but, I think your contact is really property management. So
Yeah.
Tony's gone, but I would ask Trey who the right person is.
I'm in regular contact with Trey. I appreciate his input on everything. He's been extremely, and so is Jerry.
Yeah.
Extremely valuable asset as we're looking at options for things. I sit on the ICC committee, so get to see everybody every Monday afternoon, and help participate as we can. But it's been a great learning experience as well.
We also have the, monthly, the meeting, various people come in for all the existing building properties.
Correct. Yeah, so that's quarterly, where they look at lots and facilities that the city currently owns and develop strategies about what to do with them.
Commerce or what they do with them.
Whether sell, affordable housing.
Who do we email to get on that invite?
Rochelle.
Okay, we know Rochelle.
You know Rochelle?
Yeah, I think she was.
Via email, right, she's done.
Talking about the subdivision of that lot behind CRC.
Rochelle.
This is a different road, yeah.
Okay, Tom.
Not Rochelle.
Yeah.
Not with the name, with the name.
Right.
Yeah.
There's-
What's her
so-
last name? I can find her email.
Juelicch, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we, worked with, I think it was Rochelle, and so CRC is one of our locations on the Ole and, magazine thing. There's a police precinct building that got some lots, combined. We needed a rider to provide access to our plumbing, cleanout, put the back building, but we're happy to work and happy to,
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, because that building was the old NPD second district.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying.
Yeah.
Out of that group, they're trying to redevelop it.
I think it's, liquidating and or redeveloping as many assets as possible is a great move. I think
Well, I think that's been a bigger push from the mayor's office also to reevaluate what buildings we have.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense, and that's what, everything we're asking for is, to sustain and to increase resiliency of our buildings, to try to make our buildings last longer. We've had a story past, things have been rough with as the HVAC equipment ended its life, but the city investment is happening.
Yeah, well, when I first started, that's when we were doing the 5 libraries,
Oh,
4
right.
libraries, and then we did Nora after.
Yeah, it took a
So
while,
it's crazy to see from when I started to now, and now we're having to replace the roof and having to replace the HVAC.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and I see that for other buildings too, that we're just like opening up.
Yeah, I think
But-
after, the construction market after Katrina, things were moving at the impetus of speed, right? People were moving very fast, and, some things got left to the side.
Yeah.
Some best
But
practices.
we made it,
Yeah.
like 20 years later, so we got as much as we put out of the building. Yeah, so, more to come.
Thank y'all for the visuals.
Yeah,
Oh, no
yeah.
problem. Thanks.
This is so random and probably inappropriate, but it would be so cool if in that area you could find like an old historic structure or an old existing structure to renovate into a library. I love how you all
1000%.
do that sort of citywide. You find these old buildings and then go into them, and I think it's like such a nice way to preserve the character.
Yes.
We would love the firehouse next to CRC. So, because because it's raised, again, it's closer, that would be great for operations, we could put IT in there, there's a loading dock, I think, because we get that for books, right now we are,
Or is it?
yeah, it's abandoned, it's for sale, I believe.
Oh,
Isn't it
yeah,
the fire,
yeah,
or maybe?
police station, yeah.
The police station,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
sorry about that, and so, we found out with the, main project that our freight elevator is not a freight elevator. And so for years, since the 50s, we've been carting books up to the 3rd floor where acquisition is where all of the books go, they catalog them, and then they disperse them to the branches. So up and down, pounds, right. And we were having, 30 bins of, 95-gallon bins delivered tomorrow to help us clean out the basement, because we have tons of books that are decommissioned, old information that can kill you. And so, we have to think about and plan how to get those items out of the basement. So we don't wanna use the elevator because we're trying to hold on to it until we get a new one. And we're gonna have to do a daisy chain, like up the flights of steps. Luckily, it's like 20 steps with a turn in between to get from the basement to the 1st floor. But we have to start removing items out of the basement, I think 10 feet in, which is 2 rows of shelving for them to put up like walls for abatement, for containment. But we need to clear out anyway, and so, we're doing a lot, and there's a lot to be done.
To piggyback off that, as we're looking at the renovation of the main library, one pain point that we've had is just getting vehicle access. So the new condo that was built on, Vermeer and George Washington.
So the 2-lane, which had the 1-4 is, yeah.
Right, yeah, sorry, the building that was built there, doesn't have enough parking for its tenants and or its operators, so they often park in a fire lane. I think it's somewhat of a benefit for parking enforcement, and the small revenue that you get from the car, putting a ticket on the car, but operationally, it was a pain point for drivers. You can't get deliveries out the door, and we're often having to unpack books at the corner of Vermeer and George Washington Court, and then bring them into the building. And so for our partners that we ship with, it is a pain point. So looking at, trying to be as efficient with everything that we do. 'Cause,
Yeah, like this morning I couldn't turn because Cisco was delivering for the restaurant. I was like, if you just pull up on the curb, top of the street and the sidewalk, and I can get in. And so that's all the time, and so we wanna be good neighbors, and we mentioned it to the Jasons and but there were signs up that said no parking that was taken down when they were renovating that building that was just never put up, so.
We went to request through the DPW to get the signs, but working with Steve, I know that they are
They're busy,
also
right.
strapped, and signs are not highest priority when you have some severe things going on.
But they can come get some ticket money because they
Yeah.
park around their firehouse, right in front of it. I mean, it is,
Right now.
right, I mean,
Oh, 100%.
the alley where the truck should go to deliver, that's where they park.